afternoon, I'm Eszter Komlósi and I'm happy to introduce Agnes Tóth, our guest, and Noémi Varga, who is the other interviewer today. Agnes has studied and worked abroad under various programs in the last few decades, but currently she is working and living in Hungary. So I think let it begin!
Where did the idea of studying and working abroad come from?
Well, when I was a university student, an English major, I wanted to improve my English, of course. So the idea came from that drive, from the desire to speak a better English. So I was lucky enough to find a volunteering program. So I went to Britain as a volunteer, where we actually did manual jobs. We converted a house into a place where later orphans were accepted, and that's where they actually lived. And it was an international group of students, young people. So it was great fun, and also it served the purpose. My English did improve quite a lot.
From where did you hear about these opportunities?
Okay, well, the first trip to Britain when I was a volunteer, it was advertised through the youth organization. And later when I started to teach at the university, and I applied for scholarships to Britain again and to Australia several times. Then I got information about these opportunities from my colleagues, also sometimes from my friends, and also I closely followed those sources which advertise the international scholarship programs.
Did your friends and family support your
Yes,
plan?
always. There was not a single person who would have objected my plans to travel and to study and to gain more experience.
And why did you choose those countries?
Okay, so as I said earlier, when I first chose Britain, it was because of language reasons. And later when I taught and still teach English-based cultures at university level, it was a given that I had to go to English-speaking countries because I wanted to do research and I wanted to get first-hand information about these cultures, about these countries. So that's why the basic idea of going to Britain, going to Australia came to my mind.
What kind of requirements did you have to comply with?
Okay, to comply with certain requirements, the need emerged later when I applied for these long scholarships, mostly to Australia. So I had to prove that, on the one hand, I had the necessary language skills, and also, but that came from my university degree, so it was a kind of given. Also, I had to prove that I did research in those areas which I wanted to study in the country, in the receiving country. And also I had to prove that not only I personally benefited from this scholarship, but the host country, in this case Australia, also benefited from it. So they appreciated that after my return to Hungary, I would teach students and kind of spread Australian culture.
Okay, so how did the program subsidize your stay abroad, for example, traveling home?
I was lucky because the programs I participated in covered my travel costs, and also my basic living costs, that is accommodation, food, and even to a certain extent I had a little pocket money as well to go to the cinema or to buy a theatre or museum ticket or something like that.
And how did the program help you to get to know the culture of the nation?
When I first went to Britain, then the organizers invited speakers, we had lectures, and these lectures introduced the most important topical issues of those days, and we also had sometimes very heated debates over those issues. And they also organized trips to us so we could visit the most important sites in the neighborhood. They even took us to, because I was in Somerset County, I don't think I mentioned that, so they took us to the Bristol Channel, they took us to Devonshire. So I think we did get quite a lot of opportunities to see not only those very, very close sites, but even to go a little bit further on.
Could you improve your English and learn the language of the country?
Yes, certainly. I think the most visible improvement came when I first went to Britain, still as a university student. Since I was the only one in this international group of students, I had no one else to talk to in Hungarian, so I was forced to use my English. And I must say that my English, especially my speaking skills, skyrocketed at the time.
Could you travel home during the program?
Well, I think I could have, but I didn't want to. During this first time in Britain, the scholarship lasted for 6 weeks, so I didn't really want to come home. I didn't really want to break it. When I was in Australia for a full year, I could have flown home, but it's a very distant country, so flying costs a lot of money and a lot of time, and I simply couldn't afford it.
Last but not least, please tell us some differences between education system there and in Hungary.
Okay. Well, we all know about these basic surface differences, that school in English-speaking countries starts at 9 o'clock and school children or secondary school children go a little later in the afternoon. Perhaps they have a little less homework and the like. But basic and more visible or more striking rather difference, which I would like to mention, is on primary school level, which I experienced. For example, they rely a lot more on parents' help, not just tidying up the garden or the yard in the school or something like that. But I, for example, was invited to go to the school in the afternoon and help first graders with their reading practice and the like. And this is an accepted system there. For the rest, on higher levels, apart from the structural differences, I think the basic differences are not so very visible, and I would say that Hungarian secondary school students, university students, and students in Britain and Australia are very much alike, very similar. So I don't see too much difference between the students, between the human side, and there are the given structural differences, which are diminishing nowadays too. Okay.
And do you regret anything about them?
Absolutely not. I can say that these trips were the highlights of my life, and I've benefited a lot from these trips to various English-speaking countries. So there's nothing to feel regret about. On the contrary.
Well, I'm afraid this was our last question. Thank you very much for sharing your experiences with us. All that remains is to say goodbye.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Goodbye.